Hey, thanks for stopping in to We Called It. We were going to continue our position discussions with running backs this week, but we got into a heated text debate that we thought would come up and be a great episode for everyone to listen to. So I'm skipping through introductions and we're just going to start right away. T. Higgins is the player of choice, and is he an elite receiver? So, Ken, why don't you lead off with your takes on what elite is?
I'm glad we're talking about receivers once again. We haven't done that enough, taking up enough of these viewers' time over the last two podcasts, but oh well. So, talking about a really elite receiver, before we get into T. Higgins, well, Connor gets into T. Higgins, talking about what makes an elite. Number one thing that I said is they got to be game plan proof, which means no matter what, they try to get them involved. Now, the exception to that is if your team is completely dominating with a receiver being taken out with two or three defenders on him, then your team's still winning with him not producing. Which brings us to another important point. This is not about fantasy football. This is not based on production. This is based on what you bring and how you help your team win. Which brings us to the next one of they can win any week for you. This is probably the easiest layup one to get, but that is if a team allows you, if they're like, okay, we are just not going to, guard Tyreek Hill for some reason. He'll put up 3 touchdowns on you. You will lose the game single-handedly with him. Also talking about Tyreek Hill brings up another one of you're not a one-trick pony, which means that if you only go deep, if that is the only thing you bring as a receiver, no, that does not make you elite. So the big one was like Deshaun Jackson, honestly, about this point, 10 years ago. No, yes, burner, but just a burner does not make you elite.
A good modern example would be Tyler Lockett last year, right? He put up like 1,100 yards but on 100 targets, looked absolutely phenomenal. But those are 60-yard touchdowns, and it's a great from
Yeah.
yeah.
Tyler Lockett, perfect. So next one is you are team proof, meaning no matter what team you go to, you're still gonna be elite. So, for example, if there's already an elite receiver there and you go to this team, you are still a very large part of the offense. So, besides that, another big part to put up is non-elite players can put up elite production for short periods or spurts. These are those 180-yard, 3-touchdown games that sometimes happen between broken plays, deep plays. Once again, the Deshaun Jackson type. Just because you put up elite stats does not make you elite. So once again, it's not fantasy football. It's not about stats. It's what you bring and how you help your team win.
Okay, Ken, with that said, can you give us your list of elite receivers?
All right. So, Connor, you can jump in when you find where T. Higgins falls into this list. Okay.
Let Ken list them all, and then we'll let Connor yell at you for why he is not on this list.
Sounds good. So, breaking down into just essentially ranking wide receivers. The first category is elite. Might be the only one we get to. Well, unless I want to talk about T. Higgins. But so starting at the top, Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. That one has a little bit of an asterisk next to it. Deebo Samuels. Have you heard of Deebo Samuels?
Did you see Connor's face when Ken said that has an asterisk when he said Jamar Chase?
Mm-hmm. Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, even on a new team, DeAndre Hopkins, and right now, this is where Phil had his stuff, but this is right at the brink, but I put him on the right side of elite with AJ Brown.
All right. So Connor, that is Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Deebo Samuel, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, Nuke Hopkins, AJ Brown. What are your feelings there? And should T. Higgins be ahead of them
for being elite?
Start about the being elite part.
All right. So I love your list, but it sucks. So I'm going to tell you what I think. makes elite. You just took a list of qualitative things, not quantitative things, and said, hey, that's what makes someone elite. At some point, you have to produce. Okay? Perfect example would be, hey, Deebo Samuel. What has he done up through this year? Does he have A, B, or C up through this year? You said, hey man, he's elite now. You could argue that that's scheme, but I'm digressing here. Your first point was basically on that team is game plans surrounding you. Listen, there are a lot of game plans that surround people. I will give you an example. CeeDee Lamb could not prove that he was elite. He had every opportunity to prove that he was elite. They were game planning for him. And CeeDee Lamb was basically told, you are 1A, Amari Cooper is going to be 1B. And you're saying, hey, we're putting you at first. But he ended up with 1,100 yards last year and I think less, I'm not even sure how many touchdowns. There you go. 1,100 yards and 6 touchdowns. Ugh. He played every game last year, and he ended up with 1,100 yards, 6 touchdowns. Your other point, hey, they're gonna try and you are team. You're agnostic to what team you are. AJ Brown, another good example. We're gonna find out if AJ Brown is elite. Up to this point, AJ Brown's not elite. You look statistically at AJ Brown, not elite. Those are qualitative things that you're saying, hey, because all the coaches are like, man, that dude's so good. He should be so good based off of talent alone. There's a difference between elite talent and being an elite wide receiver. Examples of who you would know if I put him down in front of you, no matter what. In the past, Megatron. Okay, you know Megatron's gonna be it because he's elite talent, meets, always putting up stats no matter what game it is, no matter what. He never. I don't know if. In fact, I should look it up right now. I'm not sure Calvin Johnson ever actually had a season that he wasn't considered elite from a statistical point of view. Everyone you're looking at so far, up until even you could argue Devontae Adams, first 3 seasons, bad. Cooper Kupp, the almighty Cooper Kupp, up until now, had 1 season over 1,000 yards. Up until this year, you could argue that Cooper Kupp wasn't elite either. Now we got to see if he's a flash in the pan or not. As of today, I would say these are guys that you can put out there and say, hey, they're elite because of, to your point, some of your points. Put them in anywhere, and they're going to be able to produce. Not just sway a defense or move a game plan around. They are going to not. You have to be able to produce no matter what an offense or a defense throws at you. I would say over his career, DeAndre Hopkins, when he's healthy, which really has been always healthy except for this past year. Cooper Kupp is now elite. He tried to game plan him out of every game last year. He had 3 games under 100 yards. That's insane.
I mean, last drive of the Super Bowl, it was literally like 80 yards from Cooper Kupp and a touchdown.
Jamar Chase. Oh, your boy. He's elite. He's only had 1 season to prove it, but in terms of today, he's elite. By the way, this is not in any order. I'm just telling you guys. I don't want you to crucify me, Kenneth. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs, by the way, to give you another example, that's another guy who went to a brand new team and proved your point, which is, hey, agnostic to team. I got that. But what did he do when he got there? He produced at one of the highest clips ever for a guy that was traded to a different team. My boy, T. Higgins. Okay? T. Higgins. By the way, we're going to get off on that right now. Like, let's just stop right there. Tell me this.
Real quick. Let me make one note about the whole Jamar Chase part.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole reason now, number one, I'm putting him in solely based off of how he did towards the end of the year and how he completely just ramped up. He essentially put a second and third year into like the end of his rookie year. But for most of the year, I mean, his targets, he has one of 4, 4, 3, 6, 6, 5, 4. Jamar Chase was a deep threat, and that was really it. Now, is that because of Zach Taylor? Is that, it's hard to say just based off of we just want to give Joe Mixon the ball. Either way, if you're talking about production, Jamar Chase was essentially a one-trick pony for most of the year. Turns out that when they needed him and in the playoffs, when it counts, he completely stepped up. He was dangerous, anywhere on the field, anywhere you wanted to get him the ball. And that the only reason I give him the asterisk is because, typically wouldn't count the playoffs, in terms of talking about this eliteness. And then another big part is you're elite till you're not. So if I'm going to err anywhere, it's going to be someone sticking on here a little too long instead of giving it to somebody a little too soon. So like you bring up CeeDee Lamb. Okay. You bring up CeeDee Lamb and, he's on my next group of, I think that this year is a little bit more of a let's see what you got. I don't think the jury's. I think the jury's still out on CD in terms of there's no more Amari. This team has really said okay, Dak, we're gonna give you the ball. You have CD. We'll see what you can do. So I think that he certainly could make the leap up into that elite category. Now, the whole Debo and Cooper Kupp, yes, that is all based off of last year's production, but it's what they did last year. It wasn't they did good last year. It's they stood out amongst everybody last year.
One of your qualifications, though, is that they got to be team agnostic. You're telling me Debo Samuel could go anywhere and produce that way. Saying, I'm not going to have anybody scheme for me necessarily. Wherever he goes, he may not be the focal point of the offense. He doesn't want to rush the ball anymore. He had 8 touchdowns last year rushing. He will not be able to repeat that. You can almost guarantee that because he wants out of it. For this year, dude had, let me look at it, a grand total of barely over 1,000 yards in 2 seasons receiving. We want to include him there's a difference between elite wide receiver and elite football player or elite athlete. Debo is jack of all trades, but I put him as my focal point. Outside of Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay, if that dude goes to Jacksonville like some people were wanting him to go, he would be out of the league in 4 years because he would plummet. Grass is not always greener because you want to get paid. I am definitely afraid of Tyreek Hill this year. Just throwing that out there. CD, think about this. CD, to my point earlier, is not elite yet. He has elite talent. CD did not always face corners that were 1A, number 1 corners in any team that he faced. Amari still got a lot of those A1A corners, your top tier corners, and he did not produce at an elite level. This will be make or break year for CD because now he gets to see Marshawn Lattimore. Now he gets to see Jalen Ramsey. He gets to see the dude from Tre'Davious White. Now they're all on him. All eyes are on him. He's going to get double covered. And guess what? Elite guys will still produce. at a 12 to 1,300 clip. You have to be able to take their best shot on defense against you and still produce. CD hasn't had a chance to do that yet. Devontae, yes. Cooper, yes. Justin Jefferson, yes. Jamar Chase, even yes. Now, oh no, here we go. I can already see it. Oh, well, T. Higgins doesn't always play Sagana. I knew that. I know that's what you're thinking, Ken.
Oh, I'm not at T. Higgins yet. So, real quick. So, and that is a really good point. And a lot of thinking of this had to do with Tyreek Hill. Him switching teams. Does that make him, if he doesn't produce, does that mean he is no longer an elite receiver this year? A team cannot know how to use an elite weapon. And yes, I absolutely erred on the side of playmaker over receiver, but that's a little, so the going to Debo, the Jets offered the number 10 pick in the draft for Debo, and the 49ers said no. Now, first off, Jets obviously thought highly of him to offer that high of a pick for a wide receiver. You don't see that. But also, the point is, just because your team doesn't, so much goes into producing so much goes into producing stats. If your team can't get you the ball, that doesn't make you less elite. I mean, Devontae Adams had 14 targets from Jordan Love in one game, and he got 40 yards. It doesn't make him not elite. So that's why I tried to take a little off of like the statistical part. But I do agree that you do have to have some limit of it where, you're elite and you produce despite.
Where does DJ Moore and Terry McLaurin land for you?
So glad you asked. That's right in the next category of
it sounds like anyone that Connor names now. It's like, yeah, he's like right after AJ Brown is Ken's response.
Well,
I would argue that DJ Moore.
The next tier is CeeDee Lamb, Higgins, Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf, and I'm not going to forget about Calvin Ridley. I don't know. I just
should.
Like him.
But at this point, you should.
Yeah, probably. But
Mike Evans, you forgot about Mike Evans?
So I lump those together because it's the young potential would be least surprised if they make the jump to elite next year. The next category after that is kind of on the opposite. On maybe your war previously elite, not quite there. Keenan Allen, Mike Evans, and then can't forget about Phil's A+ Michael Thomas.
Ken, name the list of players in their first 8 seasons to have over 1,000 yards.
This is not a statistical part here. You had Jameis Winston, who played horribly and had 50,000 yards and 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. Okay, unfortunately, that's not how it works.
I don't get how you're that low on Mike Evans. I don't how. All he does is like do like great stuff. 1,000 yards and like 8 touchdowns is like guaranteed year after year. It didn't matter who his quarterback was.
If he was so good, then I think that Godwin wouldn't play as big of a role as he had coming up. I just don't.
So now you got to take into account people like Joe Burrow and Tom Brady, who could carry 2 elite wide receivers at the same time. Godwin is borderline, by the way. I don't think Godwin is elite.
Godwin is right there with Mike Evans. Yep. Literally the next one on my list. So, and you're really splitting hairs between them.
Right now.
What?
Okay. I'm going to read you some stats. I sent this to Phil earlier today. I said, all right, 2 players, right, side by side. Oh, over 100 targets. So 108 targets, 93 targets. Air yards, 1308. Player B, air yards, 1211. Average depth of target. So he's going downfield or not. PPR points, so this is fantasy related. Yes, we're not talking fantasy, but they are related. 214 versus 209. More points for player A, slightly more targets, more air yards, and more PPR points. And player B, 209 PPR points. Who's who?
Dude, I read Matt Berry all the time, man. This is fine. Let's see what you got.
One player is T. Higgins and one player is Jamar Chase.
Okay, I'm very unimpressed with that one. I'm very unimpressed.
Okay, how about this one?
So you're comparing him to a guy. Do you remember the beginning of the year last year where Joe Burrow didn't have a preseason and Jamar Chase was like, "Man, you can't even see the ball." Okay,
listen. I got a better one for you. Player A. These are different teams. Player A, 17 games played.
Are you still talking about fantasy?
No. This is statistical yardage. No fantasy. Okay. 17 games played. 1,225 yards, 163 targets, 103 receptions, 10 TDs. That's player A. Player B, 14 games played, 1,091 yards, 110 targets, 74 receptions, 6 TDs. Who's who and who's better? Which one's better, A or B?
Didn't T. Higgins play 14 games this year? I think I know which one's T. Higgins.
Okay. All right. So who's player A?
Man, I don't know. Fantasy was last year, man.
No, not fantasy.
Raw stats is fantasy, apparently.
Not fantasy.
You know what's funny? Ken's saying it doesn't matter like what your stats were last year, which would be more of the argument to lean towards players like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins because they're younger and developing. But he uses it against them also.
Who's player A? I'm not
player A, by the way, is Stephon Diggs, because I got you to say I knew this was locked in.
It's not about stats, man. I don't know how many times I got to tell you.
All right. So real quick, Stephon Diggs is in a better position to perform well statistically. T. Higgins, on a per-game basis, outperformed him in a lesser situation where they prefer to run the ball and he has to compete for number 1 targets. And you're saying that doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, I'm sorry. You're talking about. Do you remember watching the Bills? It was Josh Allen running last year. He was inaccurate. And, by the way, they get touchdowns every other way besides Stephon Diggs. Also, their team won very well last year. They didn't need – their defense played well, like, all year. I'm sorry. Like, it's not the same. Comparing pure stats like this does not tell me what you bring to your team. A little, but not nearly as much.
We should just take the MVP of every team, no matter where they are, and we should put them in the Hall of Fame. Why? Because stats don't matter, and they are the most valuable player to that team. You know who should be in the Hall of Fame? We should probably put in. Let's fill in the blank here. Baker Mayfield from 2 years ago. We should put Baker Mayfield in the Hall of Fame because that year he was MVP. His stats were pretty good, but he was elite because the way that he carried them to the play, that's how much he meant to the Cleveland Browns.
So, for the record, you're talking to a Browns fan, and 2 years ago he would have been absolutely put him in the Hall of Fame.
No. You do bring up a good point. The Hall of Fame is about how long you can play and how well you can do it. Now, this right here.
Based off what? Stats!
But A.J. Brown, for example. Yeah, you talk about his season-long stats. He can't play for a season long. He's been injured. He's had these, nothing season-ending, nothing that changes like long-term perspective. But at the same time, he gets lots of soft tissue injuries. But when he's on the field, I worry more about him than we'll say, Corey Davis when he was on the team where he played all the time, he didn't get hurt. There's a huge difference between those types of players, and I'm going to err on someone who is more dangerous when he's on the field.
So then that's a perfect example. That's a perfect example. I hope you guys can still hear me.
Yep, you're all good. I'll let you know.
All right. That's a perfect efficiency rating. T. Higgins was one of the most efficient, most productive people when on the field last year. Statistically, Phil gave me a stat that I didn't even know about last year.
Oh wow, Phil! Thanks for
Well, that's unfair. I vote with T. I side with T. Higgins. One sec, I have it up. So right now there's only 4 receivers ahead of T. Higgins in yards per target with at least 100 targets, and they were Deebo Samuel, Jamar Chase, Tyler Lockett, Cooper Kupp, and Tyler Lockett is the only one that's like an oddball out where you're like, okay, why is he there?
There's no argument there. Yeah. Oh, AJ Brown is elite based off of his efficiency. That's how you kind of filter out like injuries and whatnot. When they're on the field, they produce. And I would say just as much as somebody who is like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, why, CD was 1B, was supposed to be 1A last year. Amari took all the corners. At some point, like, I think T. Higgins also had to match up a little bit more consistently with someone like a Jalen Ramsey or, you had times where T. Higgins wasn't just lining up over whoever second best was.
For example, I don't know if you remember T. Higgins' 75-yard touchdown in the Super Bowl where he straight up mossed Jalen Ramsey,
Yeah.
And I texted you and said, man, I wonder if that guy's elite.
Okay, so if you would consider him an elite receiver, now I'm not going to argue with the efficiency rates. Big fan of those, but would you say that the most elite players on your team get on the field more? Tyler Boyd.
I'll play this game. Yes.
Not counting the games that T. Higgins was out. Tyler Boyd actually was on the field for more snaps than T. Higgins in most games.
Now, X receiver versus slot receiver, huge difference, different position.
You would think that you'd want your best receivers out on the field. I'm not saying that Tyler Boyd's not, but my whole point is if he is elite, if you're game planning with T. Higgins, you want him out on the field as much as possible. I totally understand that that's not the best, strongest argument, but I was shocked that Tyler Boyd was out there more than that.
I think also something you're missing is you're not talking about pass plays necessarily. You're talking about who is on the field, period. And
talking about offense.
Huh?
Talking about offense.
Yeah. And if they're not running routes, why do you care if T. Higgins is on the field? You're saying Boyd is better, but what if they have Boyd as a blocking?
No. Let it be clear. Do not hear what I'm not saying. I never said Tyler Boyd's better.
Oh, sorry.
My point is you would expect them to at least play more of, their better players. That's it. Also,
but it doesn't matter if it's a run play. So if Tyler Boyd is playing on the running downs, first and second down, because Zach Taylor says, I want to run the ball 80% of the time like a fool, then it doesn't matter if Higgins or Boyd
doing a reverse psychology. He's putting
I'm sorry, if you're the other team, don't you want to have that threat of T. Higgins out there? Oh my God. And then also Jamar Chase, a rookie, played like 400 more snaps than him. I mean, it wasn't just Boyd out. It was Boyd and Chase. There were two receivers out there. And especially if it's if it's a pass play, maybe you want like the second-year receiver in. I don't know. But I get that. Trust me, that is not the strongest thing. I wasn't even going to bring it up, but you're bringing up these, fantasy, which is, once again, not what this is about.
You know who else is in that tier 2 right upon borderline based off of usage and being on the field? Allen Lazard. He is on the field all the time. And you know what? He is out there to catch. He is not out there to block. He is not. He is out there to
First off, I'm going to make the argument that blocking is very important.
I don't disagree with you.
I'm kidding. No.
Allen Lazard for president. Also, he's going to be number one.
Also,
are we getting Allen Lazard buttons right next to our Joe Burrows?
Yeah.
I
By the
believe in
way,
Alan Lazard to block.
so we
on
can
every
laugh at
play.
this later. Alan Lazard is like one of my favorite sleepers for fantasy this year,
Yeah,
man.
exactly. He's a sleeper, not
Exactly.
top 6 round pick. All right, that's 30 minutes on what is and isn't elite. I didn't even get to share my opinions because you guys actually saw all my grades, so that doesn't even
I thought
matter.
that was great.
I
Thank
thought
you.
it was solid. All right, but let's get to a more topical conversation. Baker Mayfield is no longer a Cleveland Brown. All right, so two things I'm curious about. One, what does that mean for Deshaun Watson and how you guys feel he's going to be suspended? Does that mean you're expecting maybe less than a year? And two, Darnold versus Baker. I think Baker's better and will raise the value of Carolina's passing game. Obviously, not very much because I am low on Baker, but he is better than Darnold. I still don't think the Panthers are very good, but just want to get your guys' thoughts. So, Connor, we'll let you go first now.
I think the first question, I think it's totally different. Apples and oranges.
Doesn't matter.
Browns were done with Baker, period. They never, and they don't care what happens. They intentionally constructed Deshaun Watson's deal to basically pay him zero in the first year. They're expecting a full year, would be my guess. I think they baked into their contract. Hey, by the way, we're going to give you the highest deal ever, most guaranteed money ever. Also, we don't think you're going to play for us this year. So let's make it all after year one. If they thought for a second that he was going to play 8 games, 10 games, 6 games, whatever, they would have incentivized way more in the first year. I think they expect him to be gone. That also tells you they did not care about Baker. Kick rocks, Baker, is basically what they told him. And I do think that there was never going to be an olive branch that came back and said, hey, Baker, holy crap, we regret also going out and giving out the richest contract in history, and we weren't expecting him to be gone for the full year. Can you come play the first 8 games for us? I don't think that was ever going to happen. Because here's the other thing about Baker. Baker he's a prima donna. He's a wide receiver and trapped in a quarterback's body, but also a not super athletic quarterback's body. Listen, I think Baker has that chip, which is great for being on the field and production to an extent. But he also has that chip that makes him kind of childish here. I mean, the whole idea of, let me take a step back. We decided that, athletes a lot of times are going to say, I'm so valuable, I'm so important, and how could you do this to me? It's a business. People forget. All 3 of us, Ken, you save kids and stuff like that. Phil and I work in business. Phil, what do? We run finance. We make we make decisions that affect the bottom line.
The funny thing is Ken actually gets paid borderline, I don't want to say it's per patient he sees, but like billable hours is extremely important to him. So like the business aspect of being a doctor is huge.
So Ken makes a decision that says, hey, man, I've got this really tough job. I get paid very little, and I've got an opportunity to hire someone to do all that really, like, I have another opportunity that will allow me to go somewhere else and make my life a lot easier. And, oh, man, listen, I do have an aide that's been really good to me. I have a nurse's assistant. Now, the other one may be way better and be, like, all-time great, but new job, you know what? Ken's probably going to tell that first assistant, I like you a lot, but we're going to have to let you go. Sorry. It's better for my life this way. I'll be paid a lot more. I'll go to the Super Bowl with my new company, and we'll sponsor the Browns and buy the Browns. Okay, that's what Ken thinks, all right? Ken made that decision. Hey, I really like what you've done for me as I built this thing, my practice, my billable hours. You're great. This person's way better than you. I'm just going to tell you right now, they're way better than you. Statistically, most importantly, they're way better than you. They're better for my franchise. So, second of all, Baker the implications on the Panthers. Remember that guy DJ Moore? All he had to do was get marginally better quarterback play, and he is elite. Yeah, I will say that. I would say he's probably borderline elite now. To use Dr. Kenneth Call's words, borderline elite. Asterisk beside his name.
Whoa,
Production.
time out.
Production.
Nobody was borderline elite. Besides AJ Brown, he was elite. Okay, you know what? Never mind. I'm out.
Okay, fine. I will say, in my terms, DJ Moore is not between tier A and tier B. He's in between somewhere. So DJ Moore gets a boost. I think Baker can run that offense. Well, whose
You're
offense?
between tier 1 and tier 2. You're tier 2, buddy.
Listen. Listen. You want me to put him in elite? I'll bet you he's elite this year.
What is elite?
Elite's not speculative either, man. That's fantasy. You're talking fantasy again.
It's not speculative. We're talking about it subjectively here. It's not speculative. It does not matter.
Not speculative, though.
No.
We're only using subjective rules to define elite, says Dr. Ken Call.
We talk all about production in there. Don't worry.
I talked about production. You
I talked about how it's not based off production.
You talked about wishing and hoping and saying, hey, man, listen, doesn't matter if you produce ever, but if you're really important to this team, you're about as important as Joe Thomas is to the Browns. Hey, he's got great stats, though, for a lineman. He's elite for
Joe Thomas has always been elite.
Don't talk bad about Joe Thomas. Potentially the best left tackle ever.
He is elite. But I'm saying he's super important to the team. And he produced. And he produced. Statistically. He produced.
All right. So back to the point. Are you high on the Panthers because Baker's there? And when I say high, I'm like is it like a noticeable move up, or is it like I'm happy he's there, but I'll shrug it off?
He's gonna probably be QBR. He'll probably be super efficient. I'm guessing top 12. He'll be in the top half of the league this year in efficiency and probably QBR. Some stats, those more
advanced
relevant stats, advanced stats or whatever. He's not going to throw for 5,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 10 picks. He's probably going to be around 3,000 to 4,000, probably a little bit. He's going to be best case scenario, Derek Carr from 2 years ago. Best case scenario. Alex Smith from when he was in his last year in Kansas City. Those are best case scenarios. Worst case scenarios, he's marginally better than Baker Mayfield. There's your sensitivity analysis, Ken.
It's wonderful. All right. So Ken, your takes back to Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, there's the two pieces to it, right? The Deshaun Watson factor, as well as what are the Panthers now.
Yeah, so definitely agree with Connor on a lot of that. Browns, it was never anything, had nothing to do with the suspension. The longer this goes, actually, what you hear around, Cleveland, sports talk is the longer it goes, it's actually the less it's going to be for Deshaun. I would be very surprised if it's a year at this point. Not saying that deserves it, but it's definitely sounding more like 8 to 10 if I had to guess, but honestly, it's all speculative, who knows. But with Baker, if this was a year before we saw Sam Darnold with the Panthers, I'd say, I'd be really interested to see how they both do. I would actually put it at a pretty 50-50 shot between the two. But, I think that, Baker's definitely has to be at least a little better than what he was. Fantasy-wise, I am interested to see how that works for DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey. I mean, certainly won't hurt, relative to the Darnold and Cam Newton experience. But the big thing, I think, is, the whole Baker, he's prima donna. He plays with that chip on his shoulder. And, of course, we play them week 1. So it can go one of two ways where, our defense just suffocates Baker. He looks horrible, and honestly, I think that sets the tone for the whole year, and it just goes to crap. Or, there's a chance that he just says, F you to all of Cleveland and, pulls out a good win over, if Jacoby Brissett can't quite, or if he just does what he's been doing. So who knows? I'm definitely interested to see week 1 though.
He's got the chips stacked against him. I feel bad for him a little bit. Dude, it's July 6th. Camp starts in, what, like 2 weeks? He's got 2 weeks to learn a new playbook, new offense, new teammates, new coaches.
Chemistry
new
with
strategy.
the receivers, all that.
I'm not giving him a ton of a shot to... They got to give him a fair shot. He can't come out, blow the game versus the Browns, and then they just pull the plug on him. They got to give him a chance, and they got to let him get into divisional games. Tampa, fine, they're Tampa. New Orleans, questionable. Atlanta, okay, definitely questionable. You got to let him get some confidence builders, you would hope, against some very suspect teams at best. Sure, Tampa's going to crush him. Take those games out, be a little bit objective here, and say, let's look at big picture. He opens with Cleveland and has Tampa twice. If he makes a show out of those, great. I don't know what their schedule looks like or when they play Tampa, but I hope it's not early. I hope he gets a shot. Personally think that Baker's good. I don't think he's great. And for the love of donuts, Ken, he's definitely not elite. So I don't ever want to hear that name associated with elite even 2 years ago ever again. Ever.
All right, so quick breakdown for the Panthers opening schedule. It's going to be pretty rough. They open with the Browns. Then they go to New York for the Giants. That's not bad. But then it's the Saints defense, the Cardinals, the 49ers, the Rams, the Buccaneers. That's 7 weeks. Like, I would be surprised if they're 1-6. Like,
he got a 1-year deal. He got a 1-year deal. They're drafting a quarterback next year.
Yep.
He gets a 1-year audition to get another contract. That's the problem.
He's a 1-year audition to be the Jets. Interim quarterback after they throw out Zach Wilson after this year.
No, I don't know. Just speaking, you get a lot of different things from people in Cleveland, but for me, Baker, he turned around this franchise. I mean, we were in this huge accident hole. Like he brought some life to the town. Like, and definitely brought more interest in football. Before him, we were 1-31 in our last 2 years. So I like him. I hope the best for him. I'm not like, oh, F that guy. I hate how he left. We kicked him out. It wasn't the other way.
I would just like to point out that Ken just referred to a top 7 city in the United States in terms of population as a town. Congratulations.
I was more so rolling my eyes over here. I'm rolling my eyes over here because Ken is just like, hey, yeah, he saved the Browns. He's the reason the Browns weren't 1-31 anymore. It's not like they completely revamped their. Okay. You count. I can't rewind, but when I go back and look at this, I can't wait to hear. It's like, oh, he helped us. It wasn't he helped us. It sounded like you gave him a lot of credit for the year after, and I'll give it to him. He beat up on.
He was the clear face of our turnaround. Yeah,
he was the face.
Our quarterback when we started doing good. Do you not know what a quarterback does to a team? You're from Cincinnati now, Phil. Joe Burrow. Come on, we have freaking buttons with Joe Burrow's face on, or about Joe Burrow.
We do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, but also you could see the 49ers who are just like, hey, I don't care who plays quarterback because we have such a good bottom-up roster that we can go 500 a year in year out. That's what the Browns had when they brought in Baker Mayfield.
Like 40 years. We're not San Francisco. We're not the 49ers.
I'm just saying the Browns had a lot more to them than Baker Mayfield, and I hate because it's a Skip Bayless argument. It just makes me angry. It's Baker, won a playoff game. He's like, yeah, he won a playoff game, but the rest of the team
it's more what he represents than what he is. Okay, just let it go, Phil.
I can't. You can't side with Skip Bayless.
It's just more what T. Higgins represents than his actual production,
which is
he represents a very good receiver. That's what it is. He just represents him.
All right. Last thing to cover real quick. PFF released all of their team grades. So on sheet 2 for Google Sheets for you guys, I highlighted the teams I thought are overrated and in red, and then the teams I think are underrated are in green. So first of all, Chargers, top 5 team. Do not think they're the third best team though. That seems high. I think they're great, but I think they need to prove it. Packers, Browns, Eagles. These teams all have major questions. Browns, is Deshaun Watson going to play? If so, how much? Packers, who's going to catch the football? Eagles, Jalen Hurts is your quarterback. And then, like, the teams I have in green, I feel like are solid bottom-up rosters. And then the Broncos, who should just be one of those top 5 teams. But, like, 19 to 23, I don't know how they got so much disrespect and behind other teams. Also, last piece, Dolphins at 10. I am expecting regression, and I think losing Brian Flores is a bigger deal than it's being made out to be.
Listen, I think you just on that one specifically, the Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
If you put Baker Mayfield on the Dolphins, I would argue that they would and should win that division.
Over the Bills? I say they're a top 3 team in the AFC.
I forgot that the Bills played in there. I was thinking I was thinking the Jets and the Pats, and I couldn't remember the third one or the third other. All right, I take that back.
They're a 12-win team. I would give you a 12-win team because I think Baker works perfectly with their style of receivers.
I would say, yeah. Yes, I would agree with that.
Yep.
Because we can talk about being, elite wide receiver, and we've already had that discussion about Tyreek. Just purely wide receiver, Tyreek Hill is not a great wide receiver in terms of like his. He's not a great hands catcher. He doesn't have great footwork, but his production is great. He is elite. Don't go there. He is elite. Yes, he's elite. But like
he's on my elite list.
He's on my elite list too.
Connor said something bad, so we assumed you were gonna jump in and kill Connor for having like a negative remark, even though it's like he's a B at these things, not an A.
Not in this town. We don't do that.
Listen, not in this town. I would say. I think that the Buccaneers have the best top to bottom roster.
Yeah. So like 1 and 2 makes sense, but I'm just over here looking like the Rams are getting disrespected down there behind the Chargers, in my opinion. And I think the Bengals, the Chiefs, I'd even say the Dolphins have better rosters than 5, 6, 7. I'm just so like there's just parts of Packers, Browns, and Eagles I'm just so low on that it's hard for me to say that they're that high. Like how can you have the Eagles 7?
Well, the Packers though have potentially, if Eric Stokes takes another step forward, you've got 2 shutdown corners. You know what would be a great like test if Eric Stokes takes another step, and then we see the Bengals versus the Packers, and then you have 2 elite wide receivers versus 2 elite cornerbacks. That would be a good show. Wouldn't you agree?
Very speculative.
Okay. Anyways, but that I can understand their grade a little bit, but you have a huge hole wide receivers, and I saw something like Aaron Rodgers, no rookie with Aaron Rodgers. I know they drafted Christian Watson, who's a freak athlete. Blah 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 blah.
They drafted Devontae Adams while he was there. To be clear, like this is not like just some stat that's like out of nowhere. It's like it actually kind of matters.
He's never shown. No rookie has caught more than 38 passes from Aaron Rodgers in any season as a rookie. So this narrative that you hope that Christian Watson's going to just be like walk in and just be Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams took 3 years to be Devontae Adams. So I'm not so high on that. I tend to agree. I tend to agree with Ken on. I'm actually kind of split on your guys' rankings, but we're all in the same ballpark. 16, huh, Phil? 16 on the Eagles.
I really hate Jalen Hurts.
Fine, but you're also. I really hate the Packers wide receivers, but I'm not knocking them down to knock the
Yeah,
top.
because they don't because they still have an elite quarterback.
They also picked up. Who did they pick up? They picked up another corner. Were they the ones that picked up Derek? They have Darius Slay, but then they picked up another legitimate corner. Stephon Gilmore, wasn't it Gilmore?
No, Gilmore's on the Colts.
They picked up a legitimate corner, so that helps them a lot.
Anyways, looking at these rankings, anything that you don't like or that stands out to you as like, how does that work? If you need to think about it, I'll throw it over to Ken.
The Broncos. What's up with the Broncos being so low? Like, I really didn't understand that.
I have no idea either. So where do you think the Broncos should be then, Ken?
I have it on here. I have them as 6, but I mean, they could be anywhere from like, honestly, like 5. I mean, 5 to 9. I mean, but they're clearly top 10 to me. I don't know. I thought they were a quarterback away, and they nailed it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't understand, and they didn't give up much for him. They gave up a couple good, like 1 or 2 good defenders, but that's about it.
I think they have holes that are more impactful in terms of on their defense. They're wondering if it's actually was Vic Fangio was their defensive mastermind behind the scheme of taking a bunch of ragtag guys with 2 or 3 studs like their safety and Simmons and the Surtain. Now they're kind of wondering, they don't really have elite level talent on defense anymore. They kind of gave everybody away. That's my guess as to why they have them so low. But then they went all offense. They hired the Packer. They went, was it Hackett?
Nathaniel Hackett, who, by the way, I think is an absolutely terrible hire, but that's me.
I don't know anything about Hackett. I just know he came from the Packers. So the question's always going to be, was it Aaron Rodgers? Is it Bill Belichick or is it Tom Brady? Is it Nathaniel Hackett or is it Aaron Rodgers? Which one is it? Carrot stick? I don't know.
Well, my point is, if you look at the Packers offense last year, I didn't like it. They constantly played with like a 2-touchdown lead and ran the ball out until the other team got within 1 score, and then they scored again. Like, time
of possession was just always favoring the Packers.
They just ran the clock out with like they used Aaron Jones to get a lead, and they used AJ Dillon to milk it. It was just one of those things like, come on. I didn't like it. And if the Broncos use that same mentality, like they have 2 good running backs, but you just emptied your bank account for Russell Wilson, and you have great receivers. Don't waste it by saying, okay, we can win games 24-21. Let's just do that.
Not exciting. I hate that.
Yeah, I know, you can.
I'm excited to watch that AFC West, man. I think they're all. I mean, they're just gonna have to keep up with each other. I don't think the 24-21 is gonna be an option, but we'll see. Hopefully,
that's a better point. All right, Ken, your turn. Wait, Ken. So you had Broncos. Anything else that stood out? Or are you good?
No, that was really it.
Connor, anything stands out? Last chance.
Browns.
Just why are they so high?
I just don't think they're that high.
Well, I'm over here like the Raiders. The Raiders just went through. They brought in Chandler Jones. They brought in Devontae Adams. Like,
yeah, they should be higher.
And you're saying they were a playoff team last year, and you're saying they're down at 21.
Yeah, that's
and the Steelers, borderline like a phenomenal defense. You have to be grading Mitch Trubisky extremely harshly. But if you're doing that, why aren't you grading Jalen Hurts harshly? I don't get. It doesn't seem consistent.
And you know who's great?
Who?
Carson Wentz. Love him.
That's another like. What is the difference between the Commanders and the Steelers besides Carson Wentz and Mitch Trubisky?
Number 32 last
Carson
year.
Carson Wentz had a hell of a year last year, man.
Number 32 in catchable passes thrown. I think I saw a stat from PFF that he was number 32 out of 32.
I really want to emphasize this. Last week, I said the Colts are a sneaky, underrated wide receiving core that could bust out because it's all young and has actually solid talent upside. You're talking all second round, first round picks kind of thing. If that's true, Matt Ryan will at least put the ball closer than that. Like, he might be 20th ranked, but that apparently is a huge jump up. All right. Any last takes? You guys, anything else? Elite receivers, T. Higgins, PFF grades, Baker Mayfield?
Where's all Jimmy G going? Seahawks just came out and said that they're gonna roll with Geno and Drew Lock, aka listen, we're tanking for the 23 draft, everyone.
Oh,
we're
speaking
just gonna tell
of,
you right now.
Broncos are 4.5-point favorites against Seattle next year, week 1. Get it now before everyone bets that way up. Yeah. All right, Ken, anything else?
No, just with the Jimmy G thing, I really hope that like a really good team, like, you know, if they say they get a quarterback injury, like get Jimmy G, give him another like playoff run. I don't know. I hope the best for that dude.
All right,
I like him.
Browns.
No, easy layup right here. Tua's gonna get hurt because Tua lives hurt. They're gonna bring in Jimmy G, who knows. Is it Mike McDaniel, the new head coach? He knows the 49ers style offense. He's gonna come in. He's going to be the Miami savior. He's going to do what Dan Marino never did and win a Super Bowl. I'm just kidding. He is not going to win a Super Bowl.
No,
that's just... You don't think he plays for Miami? You don't think they make the move? They spent so much to get to where they are. Like, I feel like they would be a team that if they lost Tua, would say we need someone, and Jimmy G could be their guy.
Oh, they would 100% do it.
Yeah.
They should do it.
Oh, or Gardner
We'll do what they
Minshew.
do with Fitzmagic, and we'll just have Fitzmagic play in the fourth quarter when they actually need to score.
I was upset that Minshew didn't go anywhere. I like that guy. I like that guy a lot. I feel like he's the new Fitzmagic. Seriously, he's the new He's new age Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I don't think Philly's like giving up on him, man. Like if Jalen Hurts looks bad, like he could walk into that. I mean, there's no guarantee that Jalen Hurts makes it the whole year.
I've never been a Jalen Hurts guy.
Well,
so.
I guess, I mean, you could say if Jalen Hurts is struggling, that also benefits them because they get a better pick. All right. All right, that's enough of that. Well, thanks everyone for listening. I hope you come out of this with pure understanding that T. Higgins, we've decided, is an elite receiver. Badoop.